Hello. Hey, gonna wait for people to come in the room. I am here to answer your questions right there in the comments section. What questions do you have for me? This is about you. I'm here to help you. On a side note, I just released my newest book. It's called The Compelling Speaker. It's available on Amazon right now in paperback. The Kindle version is free through tomorrow. So if you've got a Kindle, you can get the Kindle app on your computer or phone if you want to read it, but it shows you how to work your voice in a healthy manner. So, hey, Queer Your Voice, is that Yaspis or Tyler? I'm assuming it's Yaspis. Good to see you. All right. Questions. No? Come on now. So one of the key questions, I'll jump in with a common question. This idea of mix. People really struggle with mix. And I was just working with someone who, working professionally as a musician, and this person had been before flipping into the upper register, and it worked for them. They had no vocal issues. And then what they did is they thought maybe I can get more power, and they took one voice lesson, a single voice lesson with someone, and they were introduced to their chest voice. Fantastic. But what they started to do is now those higher notes, they started to push their chest voice up higher. And there are a couple of things that happen when you do this. You are engaging likely too heavy of a vocal cord mechanism. So you're really having to pull and stretch to get it up to pitch. You're probably pressing too hard. You're also likely increasing the closed phase, how long those cords stay closed. That actually gives you more energy and power. The longer your vocal cords are closed and the faster they close, because the energy in your vocal tract happens when the cords are closed, not when they're open. It's when they close, it creates this system. Suddenly the pressure drops. And a pressure drop, well, nature is going to try and fill that drop in pressure. And so it starts this back and forth. And that's the energy. It starts with a drop in pressure to create this. So you end up slamming your vocal cords together too hard, too heavy. And then acoustically, you're trying to maintain a resonance relationship between the vocal tract resonances and the sound wave, that as the sound wave, the frequency of the pitch is getting faster, is going higher. It starts to be out of the range of this previous configuration, this previous relationship. And if you keep trying to push this relationship, you're going to have to really constrict the vocal tract, and you just end up in a mess. So you're caught between that and then the flip, which is a very short closed phase. The vocal cords aren't coming together very much. They're just touching at the edges. Just the outer cover is vibrating, if you will. They don't stay closed very long. They don't close very quickly. So this drop in pressure is not very intense. And so the energy in the vocal tract is not very intense. And also, you're not maintaining this acoustic relationship with the resonances in the sound wave that's going to give you a lot of energy. And look, the flip can be artistically useful. Yay! Right? But if you want to sing with more intensity, what do? What is this mix? This mix is at the vocal folds. You're holding a longer closed phase. More of the vocal folds are coming together, but not as much as in chest. So you're getting more contact, right? There's more, you're kind of tensing the vocal folds, the muscles within to create that thickening. And then those are being stretched. And it's in this tug of war balance. So you got that. The physical is balanced. And then the acoustics, you start handing over from one resonance to another. So rather than, ha, mom, yeah, or mom, you start to, okay, if I can stabilize the larynx, so this isn't trying to pull the resonance up, so I'm not yelling. If I don't squeeze at the vocal cords, but also don't fully let go, and you can just start to find it. Hey, whoa, 1 1 1 1, 1 1 1 1. Hey, sorry, my voice still waking up. Hey, ho, 1 1 1 1. Hey, ho, 1 1 1 1. So I'm not pulling, but I'm also not flipping. So that's a good way in to start finding this mix. You're going to do it through a combination of the physical. You're going to start to train that in, but also the acoustics. The acoustics are incredibly important. And at first, you may have to work the voice lightly, right? If you're really jamming them. But you can't get stuck there, because if you could do that for the next 100 years and you're not going to beef up your sound. You have to start finding that place where it's more intense, but it's not yelling. And the best way to do that, the place to really focus, is the vowel. There are certain levers that if you start pulling them are going to give you greater improvement than others. The voice is almost irreducibly complex in a way. There's so much going on. It's quite fascinating. But there are certain things that if you focus on those, you can find improvement, and the improvement can come rather quickly, and that improvement can start creating other improvement. Let me see. Yasmin can confirm the book is good. Thank you very much. Lip tension, does it help, and why? So you're talking about the Elvis thing. All movement in the body. So let people get freaked out about the word tension, even though we have to have tension for singing, right? It's just we don't want anything in excess. But any movement, if you really delve into the way the body is put together, we don't just have a bicep muscle that moves the arm up and a tricep muscle that pulls it down. Everything is actually all interconnected. It's like your skin, right? It's been said we don't have parts, we have distinctions. So I have skin on my cheek, but this skin is connected to the skin of my chin and my neck and my arm. And we have within our bodies, we have this netting that's all woven through this fascia. And the fascia is all within the muscles. And it's basically, it's fascinating. But what it does is this fascia, when you have tension in any part of it, it radiates. It's not just when you tense the muscle, you're also tensing your fascia, and this will radiate. And when we snarl and pull the lips, there are acoustic things that happen in that we're making the frequencies brighter and we're tuning in. But also, it is thought, and Carrie Obert has looked at this, she calls it the Nashville squint, that kind of singing. But you're also radiating different intensities, different tensings within the vocal tract and the whole apparatus. The velum may lift a little bit, all of this. And this also can affect pitch, it affects acoustics. So yeah, making that kind of face when you're singing, as long as it's not inducing excess tension, right, where you feel yourself really tightening up, but it's this loose, flowing, energized system, can be very, very helpful. Lady P, if students have a tendency to go flat sharp even after 2 years of training, is there software that I can help use to help with their pitch? Yeah, it's interesting. There are I'm trying to think. I've got an app on my phone. I don't know what it's called, but it will actually play two different pitches. And what it will do is it will start with a wider gap. So you can tell, okay, this is sharp, this is flat. And then as you're correct, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think I've been accurate to within 3 cents is maybe my best. And each half step on the piano, in terms of tuning, they actually divide that into 100 steps or cents. And so the voice, the voice is never completely on pitch. The voice is, because the voice is, rather than just one continuous flow like a violin string, the voice is actually very, very quick, rapid events that happen so quickly we hear it as one continuous pitch, but it's ever moving. Of course, there's vibrato, which is changing pitch. There are natural tremors. Even the heartbeat can make these little micro changes in pitch. But having said that, there is a sense when a singer is in pitch or not. What can also, doing that can be helpful. Also, having them hold a pitch and then move a little above it so they can hear it be sharp, come back to pitch, below and back. So have them engage in what's called negative training, where they're purposely singing out of tune and really listening to that and bringing it back in, and really starting to fine tune that. There are people where this just takes longer. There's, from what I understand, a genetic component to being able to be absolutely accurate with pitch. You can do things like really having them mentally, you play a note and have them mentally create it before you sing, make sure it's really loud in their awareness. Colleague of mine, Jim Dix, who's also in my Contemporary Voice Teacher Academy, he had this great thing he does where he puts on a karaoke track and has the student mentally sing. Don't physically sing, but they have to mentally sing to the whole track and see how far they can go before it kind of fades out. And the goal is to keep that really internal fixation on the pitch and that ability to create it incredibly strong all the way throughout. So it really is kind of building this mental muscle for pitch. Now, in terms of physicality, it can be, if they're blowing too much air, excess airflow will drive a pitch sharp, and you can experience it. If you take a breath and just make a pitch and press on your tummy, drives it up. And now it takes on the higher pitches, it's much more subtle. It's not as obvious, but breath flow can be a problem. Also, too much engagement of muscle at the vocal folds can pull flat, acoustic situations. So there's so much that goes into singing on pitch. So let me see, Carrie, can I do more reactions of Jacob Collier? That would be on the to-do list. Yes. I seem to recall Carrie Obert associating the lip thing with yeah, teachers who claim it does nothing at all. I mean, I don't know of studies that, and that's just my ignorance, that specifically show this, but just Carrie's work and what she looked at. Yeah, it can have, again, so you get this pharyngeal narrowing, right? And it's not just the tongue pulling back, but also the sides, right? This medial to lateral narrowing. And yeah, you can even hear it. If I'm, hey, or if I, hey, ooh, that I can feel that radiates back, and that actually helps cue that. And a lot of what we do is also anchoring the behavior. And so I've found that the kind of lip and the intensity, motion and cueing, even your own cueing, is incredibly important. Visualization, all of these things really do help us connect better with this instrument that we don't see, we don't truly feel. Our awareness of it is iffy, right? We're often mostly going by the results, the effects of singing correctly, the absorption of the sound waves by the body. and what that feels like. We don't have direct control of this, so it can be very, very helpful. Want to create a course, don't have a huge social media following. Is it still possible to be successful? So the answer is yes. And you don't have to have a huge social media following. But what you want to do, the most important thing is building an email list, is starting to give away valuable content in exchange for an email address. For instance, my book, Beginning Singing, if you go to johnhaney.com right now, you can have the digital version of the book in a PDF, right? It's not a Kindle or anything, for free. All you have to do is give me your email address. And you can go on there, right? I'm not trying to trick anyone to being on my email address. You don't have to opt in. If you accidentally subscribe, you can unsubscribe. The book is yours. But what I find is that people, when they watch things like this, and then maybe they get the book, and then maybe they start listening to my podcast, it starts to build an audience. And of that audience, there are going to be people who never buy anything from me. And you know what? That's great, because my number one mission, my number one goal, the thing that makes me wake up and keeps me feeling good about what I do is helping people. So if I help you and you don't buy anything from me, but there's value, if I've contributed to your life in any small way, that means something. But also, of course, we have bills to pay, and there will be people who will pay you for increased access and guidance and coaching. That's why, especially with ChatGPT, my voice school is not just courses and you don't get any contact. It's actually, I get in there and do coaching calls, and I have a forum where I'm active, etc. But what you want to do is just start creating content, and make your first course short. Don't try and make some huge, expensive course. Make it short, test it. Because you put out things, you don't know if people want them. Look, the book I wrote, Voice Teacher Influencer, that I thought would really be popular, because it shows teachers how to do this, how to build an audience and sell courses and increase their income and everything, is my worst selling book by far. By far. And you don't know until you put it out. Let me see. Yeah, so back to the Nashville squint, the lip snarling. Yeah, teachers that don't feel it works. Look, I don't criticize other teachers, but I find it does work. I don't. The one thing about voice teachers, man, we can argue about anything. And I learned long ago, I don't argue with voice teachers. But disagreements, yeah, I will. If I disagree with a voice teacher, I really have to think, okay, why am I disagreeing? And what is it in this disagreement that I'm misunderstanding? Because they may actually be meaning something other than what I'm taking in. But yeah, voice teachers associate this, right, with tension. And certainly when we're yelling, that is present, just as a high larynx is present. But it doesn't mean a higher larynx is bad, and it doesn't mean the squint is bad. Yeah, brightness and mix helps to take tension off the throat muscles. Yeah, Carrie Obert, referencing Carrie again, said something brilliant to me. You can feel tension anywhere, just not at the vocal folds. So just, and again, this feeling of anchoring, this feeling of dealing with my voice, dealing with the vocal tremor that came on my voice, and the involuntary squeezing that I had to learn to anchor, to actually radiate tension to other parts of the vocal tract that could hold it, so at the vocal folds, the tension was able to dissipate. Yeah, CQ. For my mix, I work on twang exercises. So twang exercises for mix are very helpful. Asterisk. They're very helpful, but I find singers can become over reliant on them. And I'll address your feelings of pain in a second. But when we're first trying to find mix, you know, or it easier. Hey, hey. You know, and I've seen Jeremy Ryan Mossman do this. And he'll, hey, hey, waving. So he'll go from the ha, ha, to ya, ya. So there's a bit of twang in it, but there's also a little more body. So twang is a good way to find your way in, but you don't want to get stuck in the twang. Now, if you're doing it, if it's too hard, I suggest keeping the little edgy sound. You know, Jaspis likes the mosquito, but I do the little meow, 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 little kitten, meow, 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 and you've got that little twangy sound. So you're exercising that pharyngeal, the narrowing of the throat, the upper throat. You're getting that without the excess tension. I would back off of it. I do those little tiny exercises and then gradually get a little louder and a little louder because you're just introducing excess tension and squeeze. With twang, the way it works in that exaggeration, you're not really going to be able to pull chest. You're not really going to be able to shout, but you can still over squeeze. And so you have to be careful with that. I've seen people take the straw, right? We're vocalizing through a straw. So, but even though the straw is meant to help reduce squeezing at the folds, I've heard people, I mean, you can squeeze through anything. So really check for that excess tension. Another negative practice exercise I get from Carrie is doing things like, so I just give it E, then I squeeze it E, and then really feel it open. E, so I can feel that expansion at the vocal fold. So I first feel the squeeze and then the movement away. So you really have that kind of binary, oh, here's wrong, here's right. You know, how sensitive is the human ear to microtonal harmony or tone? It depends. So I see you're a Jacob Collier fan. So he's one of the few people I know that's really playing with microtonality. And so it's interesting because I don't have anywhere close to his ear, not even close. And I experienced his microtonality as color. I didn't really hear the key change as much as I heard a brightening or a darkening. So I think the ear is sensitive to it. You can become more sensitive to it. Certainly, as I studied voice and I was really listening to singers, et cetera, I would go back and listen to songs that I hadn't heard in a very long time and realize, of course, this is back before pitch correction. Oh my gosh, that's flat. And actually, sometimes being a little flat or sharp really brings something to the performance. One of my absolute favorite all-time vocal performances is David Bowie's Heroes. And I'm just fascinated with that recording. Everything from the fact that they didn't have a cowbell and they didn't want to wait for one because they were in the creative flow. So they just took a tape reel and hit it with a drumstick. The fact that the producer put mics at different points of the studio and he actually put one mic at the farthest point of the room and put a gate on it. So Bowie had to yell from the other side for the mic to pick him up. And you can hear that on the final verse. And Bowie's out of tune. He's just yelling out of tune. And it's the most intense, perfect thing you've ever heard. It's just absolutely, it gives me the chills to hear him sing out of tune. I love it. So Jasper's saying that the twang is causing pain, not enough soft palate lift, and or mistaking the narrowing feeling with nasty exercises. Yeah, there's all different things that can go on. So that's why that's good advice, Jasper. So I recommend just taking it soft, but still keeping your vocal tract, right? So you're gonna feel you're gonna feel all of this activated back here. Don't be this, passive side. It's meow meow. Make it really intense and really really twangy. All right. Anyone else? I am here. This stuff, I don't know if this is a placebo effect, but let me see if it'll get this. This singer's, it's going to focus on me. But I find this singer's throat spray, obviously it doesn't hit my vocal cords, but it does give a little bit of a good mouth feel in the back of the throat. So that's good. I always have my nebulizer. It's saline solution. People don't get excited. Which is interesting. It's I have to look and see. I spoke to a prominent ear, nose, and throat doctor who works with a lot of singers, a lot of well-known singers, works in the creative community, and you just whatever you're smoking, don't be putting that stuff on your vocal folds. Edibles. Let me see. So vocal steamers, yeah, you do want your water to be I'd use filtered, but again, in your steamer, it's being heated and boiled. But yeah, as clean of water as possible. Here's the difference though. So this is not a steamer. I don't use steamers. I will use a humidifier if it gets really dry where I am. I have since moved down from Los Angeles to the coast, between LA and San Diego, and the humidity here is really high, so I don't really deal with the dry. But this is not a steamer; it's a nebulizer, and this is saline solution that's made for nebulizers for inhaling. And this saline solution stays on the vocal folds much better than steam. So I really recommend this. You can just they've got cheap ones on Amazon. I've bought expensive ones meant for the voice. These seem to work just as well. This one, it works on batteries. It's really hard on batteries. It's wasteful. So I keep it plugged in, a little USB plug. There are ones with rechargeables. It just needs to be a mesh nebulizer. And you just use that. That's going to get the moisture directly on your vocal folds. So I keep one here in my studio where I do recording. And then I also have a vocal booth. I keep it there. And it's just part of my little arsenal. Yeah, when feel comes into the mix, some notes may go off a bit, but in context, sounds great. So here's what I want to say about technique and feel. Technique is down here. Feels here. Communication, right? It's all about communication. It's about feel and connection, communication. Don't get stuck in this right or wrong. You've got to work your voice, but also play with your voice. Set this technique stuff aside. I can talk all day about voice science and voice technique. Nobody, ultimately, your listener doesn't care. And at a certain point, you've got to not care. You've got to get to that point of unconscious competence. you have unconscious incompetence. That's the person at the karaoke bar that doesn't know how bad they are. That's had a few too many. Then there's conscious incompetence. Now I know this doesn't sound good. I need to fix it. Conscious competence. I can do it, but I have to think about it. That's working and training your voice. And ultimately, you're back where that person is, just the freedom and the joy of that person that doesn't know what they're doing, but now you have skill. But that's where you need to be. Jay Irving, opinion on voice types and range. Tenor voices, we all hear tenor voices are able to sing higher with more ease than a baritone, curse, etc. Can a lower, darker voice access, say, like Stevie Wonder songs in the original key, or is it accepting limitation and lowering keys? So this is a question where the answer is not totally simple. I'd love to be able to say every voice can hit every note and sound as good as Stevie Wonder or Bruno Mars or anybody. But look, we have, if you look at instruments, a Les Paul is going to sound different than a Stratocaster. Right? A Stratocaster has longer scale. The strings are under more tension. A Les Paul, the different pickups, the equipment does matter. A upright piano sounds different from a baby grand, which sounds different from a concert grand. And so if you are a lower voice type, yes, your vocal folds are likely bigger, but also your vocal tract is going to be longer. So it's like buzzing the same lips into a trumpet or a trombone. The same pitch is going to have different qualities. When you come to the higher notes, you are going to have to tune the vocal tract differently than somebody with a short vocal tract and smaller vocal folds. Your vocal folds will be under more tension for pitch. So it's not even, can you hit the notes? Because you can extend the range. A healthy voice should have 3+ octaves of usable range. But it's the quality, and it's also the different options. Somebody with a very small, lighter voice, smaller vocal folds, the voice is under less tension when it comes to pitch. I remember I had a male student come to me, and he said, I'm having trouble with my bridge. And I said, what, F sharp? And he said, no, B flat. What? And when I listened to him, yeah, where the traditional first bridge is, even for a tenor, there wasn't really much going on there. It was very, very easy. It wasn't until getting up into the A, B flat area. And he said when his vocal folds were looked at under stroboscopy, the ear, nose, and throat doctor said, you have the smallest vocal folds I've ever seen on a man. So let's go back to voice type. I'm rambling a little bit, but this is a big question. So voice type is a convention that comes from the classical tradition. And even further, they have what they call the Fach system, which is German for drawer. And in the Fach system, you have an opera. So you have Verdi, and certain Verdi operas are a little more, they tend to be more dramatic. Then you have Mozart, which tends to be lighter. And then you have Wagner, which is then a different type of tenor. It's a Helden tenor. That's more of a high baritone or a richer tenor. And this Fach system, you would basically say on your resume, I am a dramatic tenor, or I do these roles, I am this voice type. And it makes it easier to cast these. Much like actors, character actors, they just get cast in certain parts. They have a certain body type, a certain look, a certain energy, and your voice is the same. And then also for choirs, I mean, look, you've got a school choir, you've got 50 kids coming in, you got to do things fast, okay? Bass, baritone, tenor, alto, soprano, you just got to find voice types quickly, and then they work on those parts. But when you come to contemporary music, it starts to open up. Musical theater still has some conventions, but in terms of, especially when you're writing your own music, why do you have to have a label? You're you. You don't, people they so want to know what they're labeled, right? We so want to qualify. This is my range. Everybody wants this. I can sing from this to this. Yeah, but how much of it is really usable? How much is in your sweet spot? How good are you through that? It's and then, oh, I'm a tenor. I'm not a big fan of putting labels on them. I never tell a student what they are unless I may say, you know what, you have a more baritonal quality. You have a richer, deeper voice. Don't worry about forcing let's explore this about your voice. If you're a true bass, your voice is going to function differently than a high tenor. It just is. But so there are limitations, but the limitations aren't as much, they're not as limiting as we think. And baritones certainly shouldn't get stuck at a G4. I mean, basses can sing beyond that. So don't be stuck by convention. So people drink water when they're singing, have been for years. I find that drinking water dries my throat and doesn't work well for me. Any particular reason for this? I'm not sure why you feel that your throat's dry, but the reason is it doesn't touch your vocal cords. So if we look at this thing here, all right, there's your vocal cords, those little, hold on. Oops, this is hard to do when I'm looking down at my screen. So those little white bands are the vocal cords. And this thing that looks like a shoehorn, like a tongue, this is your epiglottis. When you swallow, this comes down and covers your vocal cords so that it can slide over and go down the esophagus. If it goes down and hits the vocal cords, it's gone the wrong way. And they do their biological job of helping expel foreign material, not letting it go into the lungs. So it doesn't hit your voice. So yeah, there's no immediate real effect. There are two ways to get moisture on your vocal cords. There is systemic, drinking water and eating water-rich foods. You've got to stay well hydrated. They say your urine should be pale. And that, of course, those are just kind of general rules. If you're taking vitamins or supplements, it's going to change the color of your urine, etc. But drink water. Keep yourself, I've read different things about caffeine. I love coffee, so I have a confirmation bias, and I will believe things that say that caffeine is not harmful for you. And that's my one vice I hold on to. But I tend to, if I'm drinking coffee, I will find that my voice gets a little drier. I have to kick in the water intake. I've started to drink a lot of, in the morning, my first thing I have is yerba mate, which is from Argentina. I find that actually a little bit better for me. Still gives me the caffeine pickup, but not as intense or jittery as coffee. So systemic, and then also you can use things like the nebulizer. This will get moisture right on your vocal folds. It's really the only way. Steam, yes, but not as efficient. This is the best way they found, is the nebulizer with saline solution. Oh, let me see. GMT, G song. Oh, well, you're very welcome, and thank you for downloading Beginning Singing. Yeah, conscious incompetence is rough. All of those stages, it really is. I subscribe to a meditation app, and I can honestly say it has made a major impact on my life. And the app is called Waking Up. And I've tried different ones, and this one, for me, this one goes right to the heart of the sun. This thing is like just supercharged and is really effective and goes into deeper levels of the self and awareness. But the idea when you're meditating is this idea of you're distracted by thought, and then you catch yourself and you wake up. The distracted by thought is a dream we wake up from. When we are singing and we are distracted by thoughts of, okay, got to watch my larynx, and what am I doing with the vowel, and blah, 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 we're caught in the dream. And when you wake up to being in the moment, to expressing, to feeling, to connecting, to actually hearing the other musicians. When you work with mature, skilled, experienced musicians, you find that they're not here thinking about what they're playing and listening to themselves and caught up. They're here. They're listening to you. They're accompanying you. They're locking in with each other. They're grooving. They're building together. Their ears, everything's outward. And this feeling of being outward and the disillusion of the self and just being in singing is a beautiful thing. You got to get away. All this stuff that I'm talking about, my greatest wish for you is this just becomes something that you work on at a prescribed time, and then you're able to set that down and be in expression. Be an artist, be a communicator. Let me see. Oh, Jay, thank you. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Yeah, steam the only thing that can help hydrate the vocal folds. Yeah. So again, this isn't just being nitpicky. This isn't steam. So don't confuse this with steam. This isn't being heated, because if you put saline solution into a steamer, it would leave the saline behind. So this actually is just turning it into these little tiny particles and making them airborne with the saline intact. And that sticks on the vocal folds better. Yeah, hot water helps. So there is cold water, as we know, can cause the body to constrict everything, right? The fascia, all of this. So yes, room temperature, warmer water can be helpful. So yeah, now sometimes I will use this Singer's Soothing Throat spray. I will use that for this feeling of the dryness. That to me, again, it's kind of a placebo effect, but there is something about mouthfeel. I don't want to be distracted with feeling things dry. And then also, especially on mic, when you're recording, if the mouth is just kind of dry and gloppy, that gets on the mic is kind of annoying. Okay, so getting into head voice flageolet, are there any specific exercises you suggest? So what you can do, and this is good, this is really good for stretching the vocal folds. Get really quiet. My voice doesn't feel like doing it right now. Sometimes if you reverse phonate, you right? So you bring the chords together and breathe the air in, do it gently. You can help then go the other way and you can start to find it. I know Justin Stoney has videos on this where he really, really plays with this, and he does it on the tiniest little, really, really tiny little sound, really, really rounded. And those are ways that you can get in there and play with it. It's not something that I've particularly trying to sing in my head voice is not something I've spent a lot of time on. It is impressive. You know, if you want to impress people and you go into the head voice, I mean, it will make people stand up and take notice. So, but that's some of the ways that I found can be helpful. All right. How are we doing here? Yeah, we've still got people watching. What are your questions for me? I know you have questions. Just type. Happy to answer. Because I'll tell you, you got me here for free. Because I don't answer questions on email or anything like that. So this is your chance. Will having asthma affect your ability to find your vibrato? That's an interesting question. I would say no. However, with asthma, and asthma is something that I had very seriously as a child. I was hospitalized 2 or 3 times for it. and would just, oh, it was horrible, horrible. And so in that struggle to breathe, you're just creating so much tension in the system. And so it really is a matter of, first of all, making sure you're able to get those deep, relaxed breaths. You feel the vocal folds open. Get that feeling of surprise. Oh, hey, right? Just like you haven't seen someone in a long time. Oh, the vocal folds will come apart, of that feeling like when you're exercising. And just feel that. And then for the vibrato. Vibrato it's a tremor. Vibrato is not something we manufacture. Do this for me. Hold your hand like this and go back and forth. Now that you're manufacturing, you have to think about. Now, tremor. Just get that shake. You're no longer having to think back and forth. You just think tremor. The body has tremors going through it. Yeah? I mean, heck, I deal with a tremor that wants to show up in my voice that's beyond my control. So I have to do exercises to gain some measure of control over it. What I want you to do for the vibrato is I want you to just be in your speaking range, your chest voice. Just get a little soft, but keep the sense of cry. And I want you to get a feeling like you're upset, like you're just about to cry. And I want you to say, go, 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 just in that tiny little voice. And go ahead and shake your hands like this. I want you to feel the body tremor. I want you to feel your nervous system begin to vibrate with that energy of emotion, right? You're getting a little upset and you're going to feel that little tremor. That's how you can begin to feel and allow this tremor to come into your singing voice. Now, if I tense my hands, it's harder to do that. So it's in this state. Just play with that. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just gently, just feel your emotion. Map your body, right? What does that feel like when you're upset? Where do you feel that? Here? Go. Oh. Oh. Just kind of hold yourself there. No. Go. E. Just start to feel the tremor. Yeah. Get it. Singing is just getting in touch with your body, getting in touch with your nervous system, getting in touch with your emotions. It's an incredibly human act. I am an evangelist for singing. Everybody should sing. Everyone. I don't care if it's good or not. Singing is your birthright. They think we sang before we spoke. That was our first communication, was this musa language that expressed emotion. And then we developed languages. We started to think of, talk about more technical things, etc. But emotion was sung. This is your birthright. If you're in a bad mood, go somewhere and sing for 5 minutes. I promise you're going to feel different when you walk out that door. You will feel better. Yeah. Well, first of all, listen, it shouldn't break you that you can't do vibrato. But vibrato is not the end all be all for singing. For certain styles, yes, but it's not in everything. One of my favorite singers, my favorite artists, is Peter Gabriel. No vibrato. Like none. And actually, his straight tone is what I really like about his voice, and the texture of it. I mean, he's got a rough, husky texture. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. You don't have to have it, but it is there. You can find it. Just take it easy on yourself. Don't put pressure. It's not, the voice is not just vibrato. Expression is not just vibrato. Yes, Mary, singing is absolutely one of the healthiest things you can do. Absolutely. Your respiratory system, your mind-body connection, keeping the brain vital and focused, energized, and also your emotional connection, right? We're emotional beings. Singing, what is the beautiful thing about singing? And performance? Because we get to express emotion. We get to express pure, beautiful, sometimes raw, difficult emotion to other people in a way that's still safe. we're protected. It's kind of like being on a roller coaster. We can experience, right, something that's scary, but we still know we're safe. And so exposing yourself through music is it's actually wonderfully safe and wonderfully healthy. What do I do if I have to perform in front of a crowd and don't feel comfortable doing so and your voice gets shaky? So it's interesting. So I am currently doing the audio book for my compelling speaker book. It just came out. And so now I'm recording the audio version. And I just this morning did the section on stage fright. And so it's very fresh. And here's the bottom line is very long ago when we traveled in small groups, if we were ostracized from the group, we would likely die. So fear of rejection is very strong. It's very primal. But in today's society, if one group rejects you, you can go find another, right? We're connected in different ways. So this feeling, first of all, it's a primal fear, and it's a fear that is rooted in the self. The self is worried about being embarrassed. The self is worried about not doing well. And when you are focused on the self, you are not making music. You are not in the right headspace. So what I do in those moments is I turn my focus outward. I will actually look at each corner of the room, place like a little star in each corner, and think about pushing my energy out to all of those corners. And then I tell the audience actually, you have permission to not like me. Because they have that right. People don't have to like you. And there are people who don't like what I do. And I'm fine with that. They'll certainly let me know. And you know what? And I will, and some of it is just trolling, and some of it's trolling with a little bit of truth. And I have to find the truth in that. So I'm okay with it. Mostly. But you keep, and then when you feel the nervousness come, your energy goes back out. I give you permission to not like me. It's okay. But I'm here for the people that will connect with what I do. I'm here for the music. I'm here for you. I'm not here for myself. I'm not worried about myself. Keep putting it outward, outward, outward. And then also, it takes practice. You got to get up and sing in front of people. My first time singing in front of people was a disaster. And there's a reason for that, because I was a professional drummer. I put myself in a situation where the stakes were too high. And so, yeah, I completely melted. It was awful. It was awful. I mean, I got through it, but it wasn't good. I barely remember it. Yeah, so thinking you're not good enough and you can do better. That's all of us, right? There is this thing of imposter syndrome. There's a part of imposter syndrome. Who am I? I'm not good enough. I should do better. That is in a way healthy, because people who are conscientious and striving and intelligent, we always want to do better. We always want to know more. But there's a level where that's healthy, and then it becomes debilitating. Listen, you can always do better. Any great singer will tell you that the number of performances they have that they think are perfect is a small percentage. I'm talking like single digits percentage. It's not common. There's always things we can do better. There's always, I didn't really nail that. I was distracted there. That was a little bit flat. That felt tense. That's okay. Because the thing is, you're communicating. It's not, you have to remember, think of your favorite artist. Going to see your favorite, assuming they're still alive and performing, going to see your favorite artist. Are you there to have them perfectly reproduce what it is they do? Or are you there to connect and experience them in that moment, whatever that is? That's why people are there. That's why people listen. So we're focusing on the wrong things. It's yes, we strive to get better. But there comes a time when you're performing, you set that down, you're communicating now. You communicate. Self-criticism will always be there, you know, and it's the thing that there is a certain amount of it that's healthy. You're taking stock. You're looking. I'm reading my book, doing the audiobook version, and there are sentences where I'm like, oh, I don't like the way I phrase that now. That I've thought about it. My book isn't perfect, right? But the thing is, I have to stop myself and go, can my book help people? Hell yeah. The right person, my book can help. You know, I've done 4 books. None of them are perfect, but they've all done reasonably well. Even my book that didn't sell as well as the others still went to #1 on Amazon. So it's, and still found an audience. And I had people write to me to tell me how thankful they were for it. So it's, nothing's ever going to be perfect. Listen to the Beatles. I love the Beatles. You hear mistakes on Beatles albums. The great one, the song If I Fell in Love with You. You know, there's one part where I think the word is vain, and Paul cracks. I mean, audibly cracks. It's actually charming. It's wonderful. I would hate if they fixed it. There's a Pink Floyd album I really like called Animals, and there's a track on there, Dogs. And when David Gilmour goes to sing a line, you actually hear the smack of his lips as he goes to say it. And in my own recordings, I hate that. But on that, it's part of the song for me. So they recently did a remix of it in the last year or so. And they fixed that. And I was disappointed. I want to hear that. Oh, thank you for what you do, teacher. So, well, I appreciate it. I'm happy you came across my channel as well. Again, I say this, you know, of course, that I make a living teaching voice, my courses, etc. But my main thing, right, is just, can I help people? That's all. Whatever time I have left on this planet, and I can do like this one little thing, and I don't compare it to others. I just do it in the way I do it. And if that's of use, I'm just so thankful and grateful. So everyone, we've come to the end of the hour. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. And yeah, Mary, you're absolutely right. You're sharing yourself, feelings of your heart. It's a transference of emotion and a transference of meaning. It is a transference of yourself. Look, music vibrates, right? And as you sing music, you start to vibrate. And then as people hear you, the neurons in their brain start to vibrate. We're literally vibrating with each other. How beautifully human is that? Everything's vibration, right? So it's just an amazing thing. Singing is an amazing thing. If you've allowed yourself, if you've cast off fear and you've cast off people's judgment and you've said, you know what, screw it, I'm going to sing because that's my birthright, man, you have discovered something beautiful and primal and innately human. Don't let go of that. Never let go of that. Forget your range. Forget if that's exactly in tune. Forget vibrato, right? Don't let go of that. That is the essence of everything. So again, everyone, thank you so much. And we'll do this next week. I will see you next week.